Hey everybody, welcome to Making Sense of It All with Jesse Stakes. I am very pleased to bring you Jeremy Bauer with GIVR Packaging today. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So before we jump into our conversation, please tell my audience about GIVR Packaging. What do you guys do?
Yeah, GIVR Packaging is a packaging company that was founded on the idea that there are ways to buy the products that you need, the packaging products, and to have a net positive impact on the planet. So we started out in 2018 after I had spent at that point, 15 or 16 years in the box industry. Um, and we had this sort of space where, because I was an engineer on the paper mill side, started in the tree stands or started in the forest and came all the way through the paper mills. So I knew that there was margin to do some good.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, that we want to provide the packaging products, corrugated and folding carton, to companies that already need it, with the added benefit that we are doing good for the planet, and they are not going to pay for it. It's a cost neutral thing for them.
I was going to say a tree stand is probably a different activity.
Yeah, so I say that there's timber stands are what we call, like, you know trees that are going to be farmed, basically.
Right.
I always get that confused with tree stand because uh, just hunting, but
Yeah. Yeah, more fun sometimes than work.
for sure, for sure.
I pulled up your website where we're talking, and you guys really do some cool stuff too, as far as customized packaging for your clients, like really like helping them brand their stuff, like not just packaging it and shipping it, but actually giving them that, their customer a really unique feel when they receive what they're getting to that end user.
Yeah, we try to take the entire life cycle of the customer's product um, into account when we're designing this stuff. We have positioned ourselves to provide all of the support that a customer needs when they are in their idea through exit. So they come to us and they say, we have this thing we want to ship direct to consumer into retail. They are not going to have to change packaging suppliers from that point until they sell to Unilever or whoever else. So we positioned ourselves to be the cradle of their packaging need from before the product exists until after they sell it to somebody else.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. And when I put the video of this conversation, or at least snippets up like on YouTube, people will be able to see some of the samples behind you. And it's really unique. It's not just, your standard brown box or things that are, as far as what you're getting when you get an Amazon package or anything.
Mhm.
It's stuff that's really like it creates a unique feel to somebody's product. It's probably something, it makes me laugh sometimes, but it's something that people actually keep. It's not even something that somebody would chuck and throw away.
That's one of the things that's actually one of the most common things brands that come to us say. They say, we don't want somebody to get the box and to throw it away. That we want them to pause and think, maybe I should keep this box. So it's
100%.
interesting that you bring that up.
Now I've got some unique brands in the golf industry where they'll sell head covers or they'll sell different kinds of soft goods, but they really are trying to elevate that experience of the customer to not just feel like they're getting a head cover to throw on their golf club, but they want it to feel special. They want it to feel like something that, from the minute that they see that package to like you said, they don't want people to throw it away. They want people to think about it and like, should I keep this? Is it something special? And I think
Yeah.
it's really cool.
Data shows that if the packaging comes customized and is branded nicely, the perceived value of the product inside can be up to 35% higher. So the same product shipped in a brown box, a way to think about this is it will be perceived as lower value than the same product shipped in a branded box.
No, I thank you for sharing that because to me even without knowing that stat, when somebody hears that, they know it to be true.
It's
It's
intuitive, right? It just makes sense.
Yes, 100%. So I know we had the original reason why we set this conversation up was to really talk about some of the effects of the tariffs that have come through here in 2025. We're
Mhm.
talking about how to control your cost of goods sold. So I appreciate you guys, being willing to talk about this and kind of share with our general audience because I think that there's a lot of information or misinformation that's out in the public right now. And people aren't really getting information from a quality source. They're getting it from media sources. They're getting it from a CNN or a Fox News or an MSNBC or somebody who they have a vested interest in keeping your eyeballs hooked to whatever you're listening to. And it's not necessarily to help you make intelligent decisions as a business owner.
Yeah, and candidly, it's tough because even myself, for a few years before this, I always thought like we're not going to compete with China. We just, if someone says they're in China, we're just not going to quote it because we don't think we can be competitive. But then when the tariff stuff, actually probably in the second quarter of 2024, we had a few customers who were sort of trying to onshore,
Okay.
and they'd come to us and they'd say, hey, we're looking to bring this stuff close and onshore it. What can you do? Here's the price, here's the quantity, here's the quality that we need. What can you do? And I was like, I'm going to try this, but I don't think we're going to be competitive. And we were. Honestly, we were shipped to the same building from one of our plants, and we're operating now out of almost 50 plants across the US. Um, Shipped from one of our plants to their location. I think it was only 2 or 3 cents. So it was like the difference between 84 cents and 87 cents a piece landed from China or the US. The difference is from us, it's a 2.5 week lead time. You can call us, we're operating on normal business hours. We speak the same language. It's a much easier transaction. Um, and you can manage the quality yourself. You can come watch it be made if you want. So that really kind of turned my mind on to say, like, maybe we should explore this a little more because, China has not stayed as cheap as it was 10 years ago.
Right.
Their wages are going up, their costs are going up. And so over time, that perception has kind of ruled the narrative when in reality, it's actually not the case. And to date, now we've had customers, small and huge, come to us and say, hey, we're looking to onshore this. And consistently, we are competitive on cost, which still surprises me, even though I know it's true. We'll supply a quote and they'll say, oh, you're within 2 cents of what we're paying from China. So it's, we're trying to reshape the narrative with data.
So in theory, then I guess if these proposed tariffs take place, if all of this is implemented, then it really makes you like not just cost competitive, but it truly
Mhm.
an advantage, a cost advantage over your competition that is in China or in Asia. And so, the perceived value of outsourcing to Asia doesn't really exist now, but it really doesn't exist if we start to see that increased tariff.
Yeah, we have I won't say their name, but they are
Sure.
branded as the largest producer of luxury goods in the world.
Okay.
Came to us and said, hey, we want to increase our business with you. We want to do more work. We have 50 luxury brands that we need to onshore packaging for because the effective rate of tariffs on us is 125% now.
Wow.
So we did some math, and we're saving them, I think, 15 to 25%.
That's
Um,
fantastic.
and so yeah, honestly it's shocking to me. Uh, I wish I had started looking at this more seriously 5 years ago, as because China's gotten more expensive, as I said. So it's not only a feeling anymore. We have significant data across the supply chain, across all of the products that we make, that says America is back. We're competitive again where we weren't before.
So just numbers wise, and you don't have to go into like real dollars and cents, but just percentage wise, since this conversation about tariffs has started, and since you've started to see people maybe saying, okay, we got to figure this out. We got to figure out, we got to find sources here in the United States. How much has it impacted your business?
Um, our business is up as of yesterday, 38% year over year. I'll say
That's
that.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun. Kind
Has
of.
has it
It's stressful.
has it changed the way that you've had to run as a business? Like, are you having to, instead of going to say, like from a example, like a 5-day work week, are you guys having to operate 24/7, or was that something you were already doing? And then also from a material standpoint, are you having a more difficult time sourcing all the materials that you need to create the packaging?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we haven't changed anything from a staffing perspective yet, although we're bringing on some horsepower In fact, we have a candidate landing December, or I'm sorry, December. Yeah, I'm already closing out the year. June, June 10th, we have a really top-end candidate coming into our design department to help with relieve some of the pressure on structural design. That would be the only real pivotal change that we're making in response to the business. Raw materials, everything we make is sourced domestically. So the American supply chain for paper and packaging is pretty robust. There's um, a lot of supply here domestically, so we really haven't had any issues. There's one material type that is imported from Finland that's very common in the US, and I haven't seen any cost increases on that. It makes up a relatively small percentage of what we do,
Okay.
but that would be the only thing that's even susceptible to import tariffs. Everything else is domestic supply chain.
That's fantastic. And are you guys seeing a cost increase on those supplies, or is it staying fairly flat?
This is we could do an entirely different episode on this on the dynamics of price versus supply and demand of paper in the U.S. So there was a price increase in April
Yes.
um, on paper, on linerboard and medium. But so far, year over year shipments have been down for the industry 2%. So I think that the paper price is soft right now. On contract, you're going to pay what you pay, but off contract spot buys, I think you're going to see discounts on that. So, um, we negotiated the April increase, but we're already seeing softness on new projects and new material costs. So, the answer to your question is depends on who you ask.
Sure. No, I think that the nice part is we're having a conversation about it, and it's
Sure.
something that
Yeah.
people are going to hear because I think again, people are hearing nothing but, everything's going up, everything, everything's worse, everything's bad, and I do believe that, it's the marketing people's responsibility to keep your eyeballs attuned to whatever they
Mhm.
want you to watch. But it's your responsibility as a consumer or as a business owner to seek out more and better information so that you understand the truth of what's going on. So I think this is fantastic because I've heard a lot of people kind of with that fear of the, doom and gloom or what's going on, saying maybe I need to find alternatives, maybe I need to start pivoting from what I'm doing. And it might not necessarily be the case, especially when you're talking about, like, as we just said in the very beginning of this conversation, when you have your branding at stake, when you have something that creates a much higher perceived value to your brand,
Mhm.
that's not where you want to cut corners. That's where you want to lean into it. And to me, it's an investment because that's driving not only the value of your product, but also your price point for your own product.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we always tell people quotes are free, right? So you
Fair.
never know what you're paying until somebody else is willing to do it for a different price. Um, we are we are very competitive across the entire gamut of products that we offer. Um, so if there's anyone listening that's like, I wonder how competitive my box prices are, whether it's Brown or Graphics or whatever, anywhere in the U.S., reach out because we'll give you a quote. We'll say, here's what we would do it for, delivered to your destination. And you might be surprised.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So and the other thing we wanted to talk about was kind of that cost of goods sold piece of this whole thing, like where people are trying to control their costs. People are, looking at sourcing things inside. For an example, I know we were talking before we started this podcast. I've got a client who uses a lot of plastics, and so it's like when they're looking at the cost of their plastics, those things are starting to go up. They're starting to see as far as on their raw materials, they're starting to see maybe a 25-30% increase on the cost of their plastics. And it truly is that supply and demand because they've got so many people that are looking to onshore production of some of these things that it's just a simple, if you're willing to pay for it, we have it for you. But, cost is going up because we have a higher demand. Are you seeing any of that? Or, you're the expert here because you're dealing with it every single day.
Yeah, there's pressure on brands top to bottom, right? There's inflationary pressure from domestic, whatever, labor, all sorts of other costs. Um, and then there's the cost of their material that's maybe not being made domestically. And so what we try to do is we don't I say this, we don't care about our brands, we worry about them. Like we are
Yes.
not just concerned, we're desperately interested in their success. So we try to look at everything we have control over, even if it means referring them to somebody else that makes another part of their packaging or product so that they can lower their COGS that way. But yeah, we're seeing uh, the effects of a lot of increases for whatever reason, tin, um, plastic, as you mentioned, raw materials for foods, um, raw materials for other packaging ingredients like glass, aluminum, all of those things. And we take that as an opportunity to say, okay, what can we do for our brands um, to help ease that pain? In fact, just yesterday we went to a customer and said, "Hey, you didn't ask for this, but we noticed that this box is a little bit bigger than it needs to be. So here's what we designed. It's 47% reduction in costs on this material. It's faster to put together. The printing can be the same. So you didn't ask us for it, but we just noticed that there's some there's some low hanging fruit here. Take it, put it wherever you want. But we just wanted to give you that perspective, and here's the drawings. Do with it what you will." They're never not happy about that, even if there's some reason they can't use it,
Right.
like for whatever reason. We just want to do that because, like I said, we're desperately concerned about our brands.
I think that's fantastic. And that's real customer service. I mean, I think that
Mhm.
there's so many times in business where people say we want a relationship with our customers. Well, all relationships are give and take. And if you're not willing to give sometimes where you see, hey, we need to help them be more efficient as a customer, then it's not a real relationship. At that point, you're just a vendor. But if you're truly actually trying to help them be more efficient with their business, and actually be a partner, that's a relationship. People don't break relationships for no reason.
Yeah, sometimes we'll tell customers no. We'll be like, "I know you want that. Here's why we won't sell you that. You can get that from somebody else, but I think you probably should consider these three or four things." And 99% of the time, they're like, "Oh my God, thank you for telling me that." And then there's 1% of the time that the founder just wants to do that thing. And I'm like, "Hey, okay, that's fine. Here, get that from these guys."
Right. Do you think as all of this stuff starts to take shape, do you feel like, that there's opportunities for people to get more into the raw material side of the business when it comes to packaging or when it comes to any type of manufacturing? Is this creating opportunity for not necessarily horizontal integration, but vertical integration for, being part of that, like, maybe it's you or maybe it's somebody else, but as far as actually getting into the sourcing side of the raw materials that you guys need to do what you do for your customers?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. Most of our industry has historically been driven price wise off of I think it's what is it now? It was RISI, Pulp and Paper Weekly, um, but I there are some problems with that, in my opinion. We have started to leverage Bloomberg's new box index. I forget what they're calling it, but for the reason only that they have done a good job of consolidating input costs and putting it into an index that is not just this is what people are buying linerboard for. So this is what we're telling everybody the market price is. So to answer your question, should people get into the raw material side? Yes, I think the more our customers can understand the reality of the input costs and the raw materials of what we give to them, the better. I'm happy to always put on, I say a clinic, but give people the information about what goes in to make their box up, because we're always honest. We have nothing to hide with regard to product costs, margins, all that.
Right.
Um, because I know others do have something to hide. So yeah, we're happy to shed light on any of those input costs. And I would point people to the Bloomberg box. I think it's called the Green Markets Box Report. They're doing a tremendous job of informing buyers about what's actually going on behind the veil.
That's fantastic. Now we'll make sure that, along with links to all of your stuff, we'll make sure that we kind of tag that on some of the videos and especially down underneath the podcast.
Cool.
I gotta ask you, I'll put you on the spot here, but do you have any kind of like a favorite project that you've done or a project that was just so unique it's just stuck out in your mind, like that you guys have been a part of?
One that's most pivotal for us is probably one of the early products we did, because it was so successful in executing on the mission for the customer. We had a customer, or still have a customer, called Recess. They were one of those customers, like I mentioned before, came to us when they had an idea. The CEO, Ben Whitty, I think had just like minimal production cans. It's a CBD adaptogenic seltzer water. It's a fantastic product.
Okay.
And so we worked with him in the very beginning, and he was shipping cans in a standard shipping box, and they were getting dented. And he's like, I don't want any dents on these cans, and I don't want any tape on the box.
Right.
So we're like, all right, we'll do it. So we created a 6-pack and an 8-pack shipping box that was minimally branded on the outside, no tape, protected the cans tremendously well, and it had a zipper perf on the front. And then you open the box, and it was like this rainbow gradient. Day Job is a creative agency, that did all of their artwork. Tremendous guys, Ryan Harmon over there. Um, that was so pivotal for us as a brand, because our all the D2C boxes have our search stamp on it. We got so many referrals off of that because people were like, holy crap, this box is amazing. Who made it? Oh, it's GIVR Packaging. Tons of inbound leads from that. So that one comes to mind as probably the most pivotal, because also we went through like 6 or 7 iterations to get it nailed.
Right.
And we did some things that historically have not been done in corrugated, and now they're all over the place. So, I don't think we invented or created any new trend. I think there's probably parallel thinking on it, but we got to do some things early that are now very common.
No, I think your industry is so cool because you're taking something that's a necessary item. You need packaging,
Mhm.
but you get to be creative with it as well. You get to have a lot of fun with what you do. Not maybe not on every single project, but you get to hit those creative feels too, like that I'm sure you have.
Yeah, we have in-house graphic and in-house structural design. So we get to do the science of packaging structural design and the art of structural graphic design. And every day is different. And it's my favorite industry, although that's the only one I've ever been in for 22 years now. So
That's awesome. And I got to say, that's one of my favorite t-shirt designs I think I've ever seen before. So
you like that? You
absolutely.
can get that on our website.
That's going to be the front of the podcast, just so you know.
Fantastic. I'll send you the graphic actually if you need it. It's funny.
All right. So if people have enjoyed this, if they've learned something, listened to us kind of chop it up here for the last 30 minutes, and they would like to either learn more or they're interested in getting quotes and possibly bringing you into into their, into their needs as a business, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yes, we have a forum that's on our website. That's giverpack.com, giverpack.com. But we're also on all social medias, LinkedIn at GiverPack, GIVRPACK. I'm on Instagram at BoxBuilder with no E. Or you can call us 321-345-6875. A real human will pick up the phone. Her name is Addie. She's lovely.
Nice.
And yeah, we're happy to help. We try to be accessible wherever our customers are, and we're around all the time.
Awesome. We'll make sure that there's links to your social media. You guys are a fun follow. You also get to see a lot of their creative packaging that they have been doing. I will make sure that they have links to buy that t-shirt because it's badass.
Thanks.
I appreciate your time very much, and we'll catch you down the road.
Sounds good. Thanks.